Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Among the daily assaults on our communities, on our economy, and the daily distractions and absurdities that we see from this administration and from my friends across the aisle in this chamber, it can be easy to lose track of the bigger picture of what is happening across our country right now and the historical inflection point in which we stand. Because if you zoom out and look at the bigger picture in the larger movement of this moment, you can see the ways in which this administration is trying to roll back the clock on American history, to redefine whose histories count, whose languages count, whose cultures count, whose identities count, whose personhood counts, and yes, the very civil rights of our people count, and who belongs in this great country. We see it in this chamber this week with the GOP that is trying to roll back the voting rights of Americans across the country, and we see it in the insidious rollback of civil rights across the administration, in our workplaces, in our schools, and all across this country, as the administration has armed itself with Project 2025 and has sought to redefine American society and roll back advancements of the civil rights era. We see it in the executive orders that Donald Trump signed in his first days in office, terminating diversity, equity, and inclusion across our federal agencies, putting thousands of federal workers on leave, shuttering offices and freezing federal funds, and scrubbing websites of American history. We see it in the military and the treatment of our veterans, firing one of the highest ranking generals serving in the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the first female military leadership across multiple armed services division, the banning of our trans and LGBTQ plus service members from serving openly, the scrubbing of DoD websites trying to erase the history of our veterans with 26,000 images and web pages of our history to be erased. Tuskegee Airmen, Jackie Robinson, Navajo Code Talkers, and yes, they even want to delete a picture of the Enola Gay airplane because it contains the word gay in it. Terminating the commissioners of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, a memo from the Department of Justice that would investigate, eliminate, and penalize those who engage both in private sector and universities in diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility for our communities who live with disabilities, claiming that they will unleash the law in criminal proceedings on private companies, unleashing the FCC, threatening to block mergers of companies like Disney and ABC, telling federal contractors that they cannot have contracts with the federal government if their boardrooms engage in diversity and inclusion, engaging in trying to stifle and chill the telling of American history by putting the vice president in charge of a commission just last week to erase history from our Smithsonian institutions, and yes, attacking our schools. Across the United States, there are 98,000 public schools, and last week the Trump administration issued a letter to those schools saying that they must certify that they will end the use of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our public schools, or they will have their federal funding cut. Imagine that. Schools across every community. These are schools in your neighborhoods. They are the schools that I attended. They are the schools that your children attend. Their federal funding will be cut if they teach history, if they teach language, if they teach culture, and they celebrate the multiple cultures and diversity of this country. The administration is trying to dismantle tribal schools, which were created because of our trust and treaty responsibilities, trying to turn them into a voucher program and school choice. There are no choices in many of our rural and tribal communities. The choice is to keep our tribal schools open, which provide multicultural and language and other programs that are the root of these communities. So I say to my fellow Americans, we cannot give in. We will not allow them to roll back the clock. We must keep fighting for the future of this country. We will not give in to the politics of despair.
Order. The gentleman's time has expired.
It is right to always do right, and we must stand up and fight back, and we will.
The gentlewoman is...
I yield back.
The gentlewoman is...